session I will try to present a concept paper which may help us for a beginning to develop a science for information. Science deals with nature. Spirituality deals with nature of consciousness. And mysticism is an engagement with consciousness. Science at present stage deals with only local players, matter, energy, space, time and information, but at the local level. The time spectrum begins with the birth and death and ends at the death of an event. The space extends between the velocity of light and the horizon of black hole. And the energy spectrum extends between the absolute zero and the superforce. This is the closed box of science. Anything outside this box is not considered scientific. But where is information in this scheme? Information is the lingua franca of science today. And any new information is supposed to be the language consciousness speaks. So local science deals with energy, matter, time, space. In a conference like this, we are talking of non-local science of consciousness, mind, self, life principle, and information would be the bridge and the connecting link between these two domains, non-local science and the local science. Communication between inside and then outside the box does happen. And the human brain can do this communication. Does it happen through consciousness stuff, interstitial particle, subtle energy, or by pilot waves which may have velocity faster than light? Is it a communication between electron and magnon, or as William Tiller suggested, Dalton particle? In order to strengthen the mainstream science, it would be preferable to call it information. Now, what is information? The unit of communication. Shannon definition, information is that which reduces uncertainty. Unlike consciousness, information could be an entity. Its location, content and context are addressable. Unlike any other entity, known entity, information could be independent of energy, matter and measurable space and time. There is a big assumption in my presentation, and the assumption accepting the subtlety of information and its distinctness from energy, the research agenda can be built up on an assumption that information has an existence independent of matter, energy and space-time, which is in nature beyond Planck's scale. If you review the literature, David Bohm thought of information in the implicate order. Spagnet's ultimate reality, information is expected to be integral of that. It is posterior to mind-matter distinction. Why not information could also be traced to Uncus Mundus of Carl Jung? We must recall Archibald Wheeler's persuasive argument to learn about the world by looking at it in terms of information. In 125th anniversary, July 1st, 2005 issue of Science, they highlighted several questions and issues. One of them is, do deeper principles underlie quantum uncertainty and non-locality? The subtlety of information has been recognized by Hawking and Penrose from the fact that information can pass through black hole while light cannot. Chalmers has also said that information is more fundamental to both mind and matter. We will see the multi-revolution theory of the McGinn, Penrose and Lockwood. They say that before we combine the mind and the matter, there is an expected revolution on the mind side, another expected revolution on the matter side, and there is a third revolution to connect the two. So this is their multi-revolutionary theory. Actually, I have tried to do it in my book in the Millennium Bridge, published in 2000. Now, quantum mechanics is a Mount Everest of material science. There is no height, no further height to scale after quantum mechanics, except the exploration of information. Quantum mechanics are silent on two spots: quantum discontinuity and quantum void. Quantum discontinuity could be the sink, and quantum void could be the fountainhead of everything. It indicates that there is a nest of nature, plane of nature, which is subquantum. Therefore, in the Millennium Bridge, I construct the nesting of nature, one within another, classical domain of nature, deeper than quantum domain of nature. Next 3 is the subquantum domain of nature. Then Mother Nature, that Shakti of Advaita Shaivism, and finally the unconditional consciousness. Every nest has its own mechanics, has its own currency of mechanics. This can be represented also like a coil. The deeper coil is the consciousness, towards consciousness, unconditionality, and the surface coil is towards the classical nature. Now, basis of this proposition into 5 division of nature consciousness scale, it may be system science, is a perceived uncertainty in describing observer dependent reality. Just it happened in the quantum mechanics. Now, between the certitude of consciousness and the deterministic classical world, there is a zone of uncertainty. Heisenberg identified it first, and we know it in quantum mechanics. But next, you see the uncertainty at the level of the black hole, uncertainty at the edge of the universe. Hawking and Penrose say that these two uncertainties are different from the uncertainty as described by Heisenberg. Uncertainty is measurable, and it can be perceived, conceived, experienced. Therefore, it is within science. Now, in this is my composite model of system science of nature consciousness, and one can see how the free will, which is prerogative of consciousness at the top, comes down to the Newtonian will, which is in the nest 1. And in the nest 3, where the elementary phenomena, life, death, self, mind, all these are working freely. Here I consider information also has a free existence and has a dynamics of its own. It is Bernard Baird who brought the primacy of information within the brain with his theater of consciousness, the workspace of the mind. Oima, in Ontogeny of Information, wrote, information is a prime commodity, and when it is used in biological theorizing, it is granted a kind of atomistic autonomy as it moves from place to place, is gathered, stored, imprinted, and translated. Look at what Leggett says. Quantum mechanics is the complete and ultimate truth about physical universe. I am inclined to believe that at some point between atom and the human brain, quantum mechanics not only but must break down. 1986 statement. Look at his 2005 statement. The linear formalism of standard quantum mechanics may break down at some stage between the level of the atom and that of human consciousness. Please note the consistency in thought and statement of a person over 20 years. He is a Nobel laureate. Hoopt, another Nobel laureate, he finds determinism beneath quantum mechanics. Bruckner and Jellinger also find quantum mechanics, quantum physics as a science of information. In the New Testament, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I think my neuro-linguistic friends can interpret that word here means information. In Hindu darshan, in Mimamsa, 1 out of 6 philosophical schools prevalent in darshan, it has been said that matter has come out of information. Padartha. Pada is the word, artha is the matter. In last century, Swami Vivekananda said, I am a voice without a form. That means information is prior to form. Form means space and time. I published this paper, A Radical View of Information on its Nature and Science in Frontiers Perspective. It is available in the net. Please go through it. Look what Paul Davies says, that life's origin may only be explained through a study of its unique management of information. Our work suggests that the answer will come from taking information seriously as a physical agency with its own dynamics and causal relationship existing alongside those of the matter that embodies it. It is 13 January 2013, in Guardian it came. I published this article, God Particle to Consciousness, Life Science, Neuroscience and Non-Local Science hold the key. If you make a Google search, give God Particle and Consciousness, it will come at the top of the first page, even before Dr. Deepak Chopra's article. This is another publication of mine, the 2012, Information Holograph, the structure, the source and its operation. It is available in the net. Following this, the methodology I have followed is imagination, intuition, speculation, constructive logic. And I take support for my imaginative and intuitive faculty from Einstein, who said, I believe in intuition and inspiration. Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. It is strictly speaking a real factor in scientific research. Now, objective of this presentation is to share my thoughts and constructions with you, to stimulate great minds in the desired direction, and in the process to make a new beginning. Now, the agenda for the science of information could be set upon the structure or the geometry of information, tour of information, mechanics, dynamics of information, relationship or equations with other entities. Now, what could be the structure of information? God geometrized, Aristotle said. Now, information is traditionally known as bipolar. It has an objective pole and it has a subjective pole. Information is that which reduces uncertainty, Shannon. But perceived, conceived, experienced uncertainty would be alleviated by appropriate input of information. So there is objective uncertainty, there is subjective uncertainty. Now, same thing is being told by Cassirer in a different language. Information has a signal aspect and a symbolic aspect. Signals and symbols belongs to two different universes of discourse. A signal is a part of the physical world of being. A symbol is a part of human world of meaning. Signals are operators. Symbols are designators. But this bipolar information is not always active. Even in information manifold, information is flat. In geometrical shape, we can imagine that information is spindle-shaped with trifolium. There are 3 folium. The folium 1 is responsible for qualia of intent, folium 2 responsible for qualia of form and movement, and folium 3 is responsible for the alleviation of the sense of uncertainty. Let us see the measurable folium, content folium and the intent folium. It is a trifoliate leaf-like structure. Measurable folium acts with the matter, results in uncertainty reduction, and it is relevant in the domain of material science. Content folium interacts with mind, delivers form and energy, and relevant in psychological science. Intent folium reacts with the self, interacts with the self, results in intentionality, causality and purpose. It is relevant in science of consciousness. Now, this is the structure. colorful way of presenting the trifoliate structure of information. We use bay leaf to please as a devotional symbol to Lord Shiva, the embodiment of consciousness. And this bay leaf is trifoliate. You can put the measurable aspect of the information, content aspect of the information, and the intent aspect of the information. Another geometry is possible. It is again a spiral. Inside the spiral is the intent, middle spiral is the content, and the surface spiral is the uncertainty reduction. Come to second point, tour of information from consciousness world to the physical world. We presume, we assume, we suppose that information comes from nest 4 to nest 3, the subquantum nest. And then it comes down to Planck scale, embodies the quantum particle. On some particle, information retains ability to drive home its message. On other particle, information loses ability to drive home its message. Those are the be-able and those are the changeable. If you remember the classification of Bales of the quantum particle, there are two types of quantum particle which are be-able and changeable. And then there is a classical quantum transition and the information comes to classical nest. In the subquantum nest, information has its own dynamics. And information in the quantum plane, it can explain the quantum puzzles and the quantum paradoxes. Now, when it comes to the classical domain, it can embody some non-informational molecule. It cannot embody the non-informational molecule, can embody on the informational molecule. What are the non-informational molecule? Cholesterol, glucose, albumin. I am talking from my medical experiences. What are informational molecule? If it is inorganic, it is silicon. If it is organic molecule, it is carbon-based, DNA, RNA, enzymes. I here want to point out this point, why some molecules at the classical level and why some particle at the quantum level can carry information or cannot carry information. That should be a frontiers of our research. Before we say quantum information, information is never emitted as quantum. Some quantum particle can embody information and some cannot. Now there is information loss in this too. First loss, the first break in the causality chain when the information enters the Planck scale. Second break in the causality chain happens in the quantum nest itself. Third break in causality chain happens when the classical quantum transition, and fourth level of information loss happens in the classical plane itself. Now what does information do? Development of science of information is related to unraveling of its dynamics or mechanics. The mechanics played by information could be called information mechanics. There are many determinants of information mechanics, where it is located, what is the content, what is the contextual setup, what is the propensity or gradient, and the system in which information works. Information mechanics and quantum mechanics differ. We have to draw a distinction between the information dynamics and the quantum mechanics. The behavior of the quantum particle as we observe is because of information therein. A number of quantum paradoxes could be explained if we consider the role of information therein. Although to a large extent left independent, quantum mechanics is eventually governed by information mechanics. I also draw a distinction between information entanglement and quantum entanglement. My friend Anirban Bandyopadhyay said he does not like this word entanglement in context of information, because entanglement means binding permanently. But if you say information coupling, that will be a better term. So one can go through this difference between information entanglement and the quantum entanglement. Now information dynamics or mechanics. It is a mechanics of waiting. Information waits on matter till an opportunity comes to unveil itself. It is a mechanics of opportunism. Following that mechanics of causal execution, mechanics of creative emergence, or mechanics of new creation. So this all belongs to the information dynamics. Any equation or relationship, when we make it as a science, we always express it as an equation or relationship. Can information be connected by any equation with any other entities? No. So far, science has understood information in terms of probability, starting from Shannon. In this woolly area of nature, what equation will you make? I think better term is relationship. Now, what are these relationships? Gene information relationship, meme information relationship, consciousness self relationship, which is again dependent on information, information life relationship, information space time relationship, and consciousness information relationship. Now look at the gene information relationship. Traditionally, DNA transcribes mRNA, and then we get protein. The information flow is like that. But genes neither generate information nor it can use information. Most likely, it is information which uses genes as means to achieve their aim. This hypothesis can be supported by some evidence. The redundancy in the language of the genes. Organic evolution is mostly algorithmic but not always teleological. Then there is evidence of exchange of information by the genes from outside. Gene jumps and change the language, the grammar of the total gene. So what makes the gene jumps? And there are central dogma of molecular biology. There are many dogma busters like reverse transcriptase, catalytic RNAs, prion. All these point out towards primacy of information over genes. So the many epigenetic phenomena and primacy of environment over the genes in that sense. You look at the Barbara McClintock comment when she was describing the mitosis and meiosis. She finds there is sense, and she used the word sense, sensitivity in these two small paragraphs. That means she was comprehending that gene can sense, break, come together, join, how it is sensing. She just do not say that there is a gene psyche, because that will be not scientific at that time, even now. So, but she senses, she uses the word sense, sensitivity. Now, meme information relationship. You know, the Richard Dawkins brought out this concept that meme is the unit of cultural transmission, a unit of imitation, like that. But this composition of the meme or the restructuring of the meme can be done by addition, deletion of information, or alteration of the quality of the information. It may need probably a cloudburst or intervention of God to change the meme of a person, but still it is possible. Information self-relationship. There are two views on origin of self, that it is an emergent properties from the brain, and it is a descendant of unconditional consciousness. It is not an emergent property. It is the unconditional consciousness which has descended as self with information, three information, that it is indivisible from unconditional consciousness. It has to behave within the given constraint, and it is the bridge between the brain bound and the brain independent consciousness. So here again also information comes. Self is an informationally conditioned consciousness, unconditional consciousness. Life information relationship, that is also another frontier. Now, what is not known about operation of life, how organization of life differ from self-organization. Self-organization also, these people also involve information, but life organization is different from self-organization. Why? Only living organisms generate information and generate information. You see, these non-living things cannot generate information. It is only the living things which can generate information. So information is related to life. We cannot exclude life from our scheme. Just self, mind, consciousness, three will not do. You have to bring life somewhere. And why development of consciousness is seen only in living organisms. Now, information space-time relationship. This shows the destiny of information. Information once created, it will not be, it has to be, do something. It cannot be destroyed in that sense. Now, if you look at the word information, it has a, in the center it has a form, information, and it has a prefix in and a suffix ation. In Latin, information is a noun, and in Greek, information is a verb. To put form into process is information. But what will bring information's form inside out? That's the question. What brings that information form out? So there should be an information split, and this is done by mind. Information is conceived by the mind. It creates time, space, energy. Information is the father, mind is the mother, time, space, energy are three children. Now, what the sense organ can understand and deal with are form and movement. Mind breaks the non-sensible information into sensible component. Energy initiates movement, while space and time create form. What could make information inside out? One is mind, but if it is not a human situation, it might have been done in the nature by the quantum, in the quantum fields, the messengers of infinity. So this information split into form and energy may be the basis of psychosomatic connection. Form goes to mind and processed as idea, and energy goes to neuron. This is the scheme in nature. Now, if you look at this, information, infinity oblique consciousness, and quantum fields, three together meet. This is the trinity point, and deliver space, time, and energy. That is, space, time is the form, and energy is for movement. That is the bedroom of nature, and that is the labor room of nature. Now, bedroom and labor room are not within the sensory perception. That could be in the non-sensory perception. What is within our sensory perception? Scientists' sensory box of vision is the form and movement. But this is probably happening beyond Planck scale. Now, consciousness information relationship. Here we come to the source of information. Information is created by the principle of similia similibus. Means the uncertainty in relationship between the masculine and the feminine components of non-local entities is the cause of genesis of information. Within the box, information reduces uncertainty. Outside the box, information is generated by uncertainty. And that is the boundary of the universe. The zero-point energy field and the essence from which the multiple universes are born. The brain of the M-string theory. Finally, I draw your attention that mantra would be the information on the divine. Mantra is the information on the divine. Thank you.